in the 06010.
What's good, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football, presented by Wingstop, alongside Field Yates and Stephania Bell. My name is Daniel Dopp. Very excited to be able to bring you our Week 11 recap. How are you two doing? I didn't get to see you on Sunday, so this is my first time seeing you since the weekend.
We're bearing the lead.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about what really matters here. The show can wait. We have a very special birthday today.
How old are you, Field?
Happy birthday, Daniel Dopp. How do you
Thanks,
feel,
guys.
bud?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel great. It was a really good weekend. Got to hang out with a bunch of my friends. I thank you for that.
And I mean that sincerely.
I appreciate it.
You probably would not look a day over 20 if you shaved.
If I shaved, yeah.
You just don't age.
Yes.
I love it.
I try real
Because
hard.
you have a kind heart.
I would like to think between that and Rosie has made me start eating vegetables. And so a lot more salads in life. I know she's doing the Lord's work right now.
It says you can't teach a young dog new tricks.
I like that. I like that.
By the way, that's not the only notable thing taking place on the show today, because we're going to dive into a big Week 11 recap. Of
course we are.
Professor Bell's in the building.
That's right.
That's right. School is in session, kids.
I love it.
Wearing glasses. I was like, is there something happening today? Do you have...
I do. It is. It's called giving my eyes a rest from my contacts.
Oh, okay. That's what it is.
This is. I used to teach, so this is part of the.
I like
going
it.
back to my roots.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, though, you weren't wearing those like 30 seconds ago. You pulled them out right before we started and put them on.
Okay, so now I need to expose to the world that when I'm reading and working on my laptop, I don't, because these are bifocals, kids. And sometimes it's just hard to make the adjustment. So I just take them off for doing that work. But then in order to see your pretty face, I want them on. Like, I want to see it like nice and clear, sharp. Field is close enough that I can see his face all the time.
I can see clearly now.
Do you have
glasses are on?
If you have an extra pair, I'd love to send him to Jared Goff because he was not great this week. We'll dive into a bunch of takeaways. And let's start with our Monday morning blitz. Winners, losers, and what the heck players. Field, I'm going to start with you for your winner.
Okay, let's begin down in Atlanta. It's not a Falcon, although there could have been one that deserved to get some mention. Teteroa McMillan, 8 catches for 130 yards. Two receiving touchdowns, good for 33 fantasy points. One of the best receivers of the week was T-Mac. He, by the way, now leads all rookie receivers in both catches and receiving yards. It is going to be a neck-and-neck race between he and Emeka Egbuka down the stretch to finish as the most productive rookie wide receiver. He looked the part yesterday.
Great.
Bryce Young threw for 448 yards.
Who was that guy? That was not Bryce Young.
Who are you and what did you do with Bryce Young? But we love it.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We gave him some motivation this past week. Bryce Young was banged up, playing on basically one ankle. 448 passing yards, the most by any quarterback in Panthers history. But shout out to T-Mac, who has been heating up of late, looking like a top 20 wide receiver right now.
He's been crushing. Hopefully down the stretch, we would love to be able to have him. So that'd be great.
Love to see people heat up down the stretch. You also love to see people bounce back. So I was thrilled to give Josh Allen my winner of the week. Another historic performance by a player. 2 of the 3 highest scoring performances by a quarterback this season now belong to Josh Allen, who put up 42.68 fantasy points by our calculations. He's now the QB1 in total points, passing Drake May, which that's unbelievable, by the way, that Drake May was the one he passed, and points per game, passing Patrick Mahomes. And here's a little stat that I'm stealing from Get Up because I was watching this morning. Yes, well, Field and I were in the makeup chairs next to each other.
Okay.
I stay much longer than Field just visits for a moment.
Yeah, right.
But they said that only 3 times in history has a quarterback had 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in the same game.
Yep.
Think about that. I mean, that is so ridiculous.
Do you know who those people are?
Yeah.
Did they tell you?
Yeah, you know who they are?
It's Josh Allen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. An autogram from 1954.
Were you watching as well?
I was not. I saw the stat last night.
Okay.
They had done a similar one.
That is such a great stat. I was like,
So
I have
good.
to use that because like in the era that we have been watching football, I mean, I know you guys, I'm the resident, senior member of the team, but I wasn't watching autogram.
That's fair. No. Never.
The only one who's done it that we've ever watched is Josh Allen. He's done it twice.
He's amazing.
Incredible.
He also kind of took off the first quarter. He was not great in the first period of the game. On top of that, he now, going back to 2024, the beginning of the 2024 season, has the 3 highest highest scoring performances of any quarterback since the 2024 season began.
Wow.
You may recall those back-to-back games against the Lions and Rams late last season, weeks 14 and 15. He still is remarkable. Daniel, who is your winner?
I tried to black out that memory as last night's game yesterday was happening because I felt like I was seeing flashbacks. My winner is going to be Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
Topping 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, 27 total touches.
Love.
Most rush attempts and most touches of the season. And that's coming off of a game in which we were coming out of it being like, why are they using Tyler Algier so freaking much?
They used Tyler Algier yesterday.
They did, but it was much less than what we saw the first time, which was really great.
Yep.
He had 11 touches last week, Tyler Algier did. Only 5 touches this week. However, one of them was still a goal line vulture where he got in the end zone. Yep. But Bijan's sixth game, with 110 yards from scrimmage. He was absolutely unbelievable. Again, he's going to get another divisional opponent in the Saints next week.
By the way, Bijan now has as many rushing touchdowns in the past 24 hours as he did all season coming into yesterday's game. So shout out to Bijan for a big game. My loser, normally it's just a thing we talk about briefly. There's a slightly longer talking point here today. It's Jamar Chase, who yesterday in a matchup that we liked against the Steelers, especially with some injuries in the secondary, he had 3 catches for 30 yards. That's good for 6 fantasy points, folks. But on top of
he had 4 catches. Didn't he catch some hands somewhere in there too, or did I?
Jamar had 3 catches on 10 targets. On top of that, Jamar Chase did get punched by Jalen Ramsey, which Ramsey said after the game is because he spit on him. Jamar immediately denied that. And then video emerged, which very clearly shows that Jamar Chase did spit either on Jalen Ramsey or very close to the direction of Jalen Ramsey. We are going to have a decision. Maybe by the time that some of you are listening to or watching this today, Jamar Chase will have some sort of decision by Monday evening, I believe. And I expect Jamar Chase to be suspended for the Week 12 game against the Patriots. Jalen Carter, all the way back in Week 1, spit on a Cowboys, it was Dak Prescott specifically, just before they actually took the field for the first offensive play for Dallas. Carter was, by the NFL, deemed to have served a 1-game suspension for spitting. This happened late in the game. Chase did not get ejected from the game, so I suspect he will be out in Week 12 against the Patriots. T. Higgins will be the number 1 wide receiver for Cincinnati, almost assuredly in Week 12.
It really, it has consequences beyond just, Jamar Chase in that moment. This particular week, we've been talking about with Joe Burrow returning to practice, and would he come back for the Bengals? And that might depend a little bit on what their standings are.
Yep.
And you're taking Jamar Chase out potentially right at the time when they're trying to make a push, and they certainly didn't help themselves yesterday. So we shall see.
One last thing, just for Jamar and other players that consider spitting on people in the future. Jamar Chase makes a base salary of $8.07 million this season. You divide that by 18, he's going to probably lose $448,000 for spitting yesterday. Because you're going to get knocked a game check as well. You lose $448,000 because you decided to spit on someone. It's disgusting
not to mention,
see. And just who's your loser, Stephania?
Be a good human. Well, this has nothing to do with that, but I'm staying in the quarterback lane.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson, just because it was so disappointing. And if you're a fantasy manager like I am, somebody who has Lamar Jackson in a number of leagues, you just count on double-digit points. It's kind of the flip of what when Josh Allen has had his down game. Yeah. Only this was so bad. Only 4.72 fantasy points for Jamar. Not 47, 4.72 fantasy points, 14 of 25 for 193 yards, but 2 picks. Rushing 4 for 10. I think that's the one that was really shocking, was we just didn't see him move at all. Just kind of an ugly and weird game for the Ravens all the way around.
Weird game all the way around for both sides.
Seriously.
Both of Lamar's interceptions were on passes that should have or could have been caught. One of them was returned to the house. The Browns actually scored over 20 fantasy points.
And you certainly, you weren't. Browns have good defense. I think that's the other thing, is you might have expected to temper your expectations, if you will. But you weren't expecting 4.72. I should have started Jacoby Brissett.
Dude, can you imagine that Josh Allen almost scored 10 times as many fantasy points as Lamar Jackson?
Actually.
Like literally 10 times as many.
That's correct.
That's unbelievable.
And if you set that up in the preseason, imagine there's a week where we have to have one of these categories, I think, as a look back at the end of the year, like things you would never say out loud that could possibly, because people would say, oh, this is the stupidest take ever. Yeah.
It's like, what is Josh Allen going to score 160 points? It's like, no, Lamar's going to score. He might actually with the ratings on. It was cute. You guys brought a single loser to the table. I'm going to bring an entire team.
Okay, good. I got an idea
Which
of who
one?
it is.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
They had a bye week yesterday.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, 81 passing yards, 1 interception, plus 21 rushing yards, 3.3 fantasy points.
Brutal.
The best outing by a Charger this week was Keenan Allen, 4 for 53 for 9.3 fantasy points. 4 receptions was a team high.
Yeah.
53 receiving yards was a team high. Oronde Gadsden, 6.1. Ladd McConkey, 4.3. Quentin Johnston and Mike Williams had the exact same number of points. Mike Williams doesn't even play on the team.
Correct, yes.
And
QJ's
Kamani Vidal.
second bagel in
Second
3
bagel.
weeks.
Yes, it's been terrible. And Kamani Vidal, only 3.2 fantasy points. An embarrassing offensive performance made it so much harder for fantasy managers to be able to win their matchups in week 11 because of all of that. Stephania, Kamani Vidal did get banged up. Maybe am I still saying it wrong? How did
Vidal?
Vidal,
maybe Tirico.
Kamani Vidal. I'm going to try to change it. Okay.
Think of it as a Videl as opposed to AL, and it helped me.
Okay.
Vidal, yeah.
All right. Kamani has a thigh.
There we go.
Has a thigh contusion. Apparently, he got in this weird position when he got taken down at one point as well. So we'll see. Again, with that team, you do not expect to hear much, and they have a bye upcoming.
Yep.
So you really don't expect to hear anything. The hope is that by the time the bye week is completed, he'll be available again.
Alrighty.
Just
also,
awful.
they were going to be extremely cautious with any injury yesterday. They pulled Justin Herbert early, so just a total. That's the classic West Coast team going east, playing a 1:00 game, and the team forgets to show up. The body clocks are still set for whatever 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, it was a complete failure all around, so they can all sit there and
It's everybody.
Right, it's everybody. It's not just one or two
For
people.
sure.
Yep.
What the heck, Daniel?
What the heck, Stephania? I wish I knew. Please go ahead, because I wish I had answers.
Yeah. I'm ready for my what the
Bring
heck.
it.
My what the heck was Mark Andrews and that totally random play that was like a fake tush-push setup,
great.
and he sneaks
But he ran
out.
backwards also for a second?
And then he runs 35 yards for a touchdown. Longest rushing of Mark Andrews' career, first rushing touchdown of his career. That was ridiculous. Like, I had to watch that play multiple times. I actually got kind of a kick out of it,
Yeah,
to
it was
be
great,
honest,
yeah.
because you weren't expecting it, and he just snuck around. I'm like, he's not that fast. They're going to catch him. And then they didn't.
They didn't.
I know. It was great. So to me, it was just kind of a fun, random, never saw that coming. I have yet to see the tush-push setup for something like that.
Yeah, it was also the perfect time, perfect place to do it. You're playing against Cleveland, who's going to have a hard time scoring points just in general. They were down to Shedeur Sanders, their backup quarterback, in the game. On top of that, you can only run that play on 4th down, because if you have 3rd and inches, you do run the risk of losing yards, and then you're in 4th and 4 or something like that. When it's 4th down already, it's either you make the first down conversion or you don't. Really cool play call there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more variations on the tush push for the final 7 weeks of the season, because I think after the season, it is gone from the NFL.
Really?
What the heck? And this is a good one is, so I had some confidence in Michael Wilson going into the day yesterday. He was my long shot pick on
You didn't have
Fantasy
enough
Football
confidence
Now.
even.
I know.
It turned
Adam's
out-
going to be so bummed out.
How about
because
this?
He's going to lose this week
Michael
for
Wilson had a monster game. Now, they were getting
Monster.
smoked by Stephania's 49ers, back-to-back complete butt whoopings handed to the Arizona Cardinals. 15 catches, 15. Second most in a game this season by any player. Jamar Chase had 16 earlier this season. 185 receiving yards from Michael Wilson. That is the most by any player in a single game this season, surpassing Devontae Smith's 183. 33.5 fantasy points for Michael Wilson Jr. Michael Wilson, I don't know if he's a junior, but he now becomes the highest scoring player in the history of long shots. So shout out to him.
Wow.
No wonder. And by the way, credit to you for a long time. I'm going to give a little credit to myself. As soon as I heard that Marvin Harrison Jr. had his appendix surgery, I grabbed Michael Wilson, and I think I played him in 5 leagues yesterday.
Yeah.
It was tremendous. Now, I cannot catch up to Field because he destroyed me with Travion Henderson, but I did take advantage of that performance, and I didn't want to celebrate it too much because I knew he was playing against the 49ers, but if I had to be honest, which I am, the 49ers defense I knew would be giving up points. They did. Michael Wilson looks phenomenal. Like, that's a player, if he's still available, go get him.
Yeah, we'll talk about him more tomorrow on waivers. We'll also talk about him more throughout the week because Marvin Harrison Jr. was described by Jonathan Gannon as out for at least this week.
Yeah, you never know. Recovering from, it's still surgery, even if you think it's a small thing.
This topic fits perfectly with the other thing you just said, Stephania, where it's like, would I have guessed at the end of the season that Michael Wilson Jr. would have the most receiving yards and the second most receptions in a game in 2025?
Is he actually a junior, or did I just give him that money?
Yeah, it's just Michael Wilson.
My bad,
yeah,
Michael Wilson.
That's all good.
Went to Stanford.
That's all right. There's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, there you go.
I understand.
There you go.
That just kind of carried
I
over.
just screwed that one up.
What the heck? Kenny Gainwell goes off when filling in for Jaylen Warren. All right, so he totally stole the day. We're going to talk about Jaylen Warren in a minute because obviously he got banged up. But a dominant receiving game, 7 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns, plus 24 rushing yards for 29.5 fantasy points. Stepped up in a major way against the softest rush defense in the entire
Advantage
NFL.
of it, no doubt.
There's no question about it. Whenever Kenny Gainwell has had more than 12 touches in a game, he has scored at least 29.5 fantasy points in both of those games. Because it's the other game that he had the 31-point game. Yeah. So he was unbelievable. If Jaylen Warren is going to miss any time, it feels like Kenny Gainwell could be someone you could count on. But what do we know about Jaylen Warren, Stephania?
Left ankle injury. He did return to the game, but it was not relevant. Let's put it this way. Kenny Gainwell was dominant, didn't need to be. And I don't, I haven't gone back and looked at how much he played once he did come back. I think he might have been in and out. But it was nice to see Gainwell on my bench.
It was, I don't know about that. He was on a lot of people's benches.
I know, but that's the thing. Don't you see that? You see that happen. You're like, oh my gosh, I have this player as a reserve.
Field this week started Aaron Rodgers against me in FF Now. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have. But
my other option was Mahomes. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers got banged up in this game. I saw Mason Rudolph out there playing quarterback.
With a nice mustache. You didn't see it?
I did see it.
It's Movember.
It is Movember. It is. You're right. You're right. That's fair.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers, there is a concern, according to our friend Adam Schefter, that he has a fracture in his left wrist. I know it's been described as a slight break, but listen, as everyone in medicine will tell you, a break is a break, right? If you have a fracture, it's a fracture.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the size of it. What does matter, though, is where it is, which we don't exactly know, because the wrist is not like one entity. There can be a number of locations. It depends whether it's something that has to be addressed surgically or not. Those are all the things that are going to be uncovered as he goes through further evaluation. Sounded like he felt like he was going to be okay, but I will wait until the medical folks actually have something to say about it. The other thing is, if you're thinking it's his non-throwing hand, yes, that's great, and because one of the things you can get stiff after a fracture, which makes it much harder to throw. So non-throwing hand, great, but you still have to handle the ball, take snaps, etc.
Yeah.
So it's not nothing. We shall see.
I believe I recall our former colleague here at ESPN, and just a great man, Matt Hasselbeck, who played with it was maybe like an offhand broken thumb or something. And so when he was handing the ball off, I think it was a right-handed quarterback. If you're trying to hand the ball off to a run going to the right, he was sitting there. I think he was actually kind of reverse pivoting.
Yeah. To be able to do a backwards,
meeting the running back in the backfield. So,
and the thing is, taking snaps, people don't realize how hard it comes up against your hand.
Man.
So, people, you take snap, no big deal. No, you take a professional snap. Like if you have something broken in that area, that's a major problem. So, and it's not really easy to always splint or protect. So, we'll find out more after today, hopefully.
Okay. A lot of injuries actually going to monitor. We'll talk about some more actually as we get through this. All right, let's dive into the takeaways from week 11. Field, going to start with you. We're just going to rip through some stuff that stood out to us.
Probably could have mentioned this guy as our what the heck player of the week, but I came into the week with some confidence in this player. For those that listen to the later in the week shows, Sean Tucker was unbelievable yesterday. Sean Tucker, he had 34 fantasy points yesterday. He now has 2 games in his career with 12 or more opportunities in those games, and he has 3 touchdowns in each of those games. So
him and Kenny Gainwell are doing the Spider-Man meme.
The secret sauce to Sean Tucker and the Bucs having a big day is just give him at least 12 opportunities here. He had 46% of the snaps, so he still ceded more work to Rachaad White, and the Bills were an amazing matchup, right? The Bills are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. However, worth noting that Bucky Irving did return to practice this week, and he may not play this upcoming week. He may, but he may not. We just don't know as of yet. So there might be something here. I'll be curious if Bucky is going to be out. It's hard for me to have a ton of confidence in Sean Tucker, even based off what we saw yesterday, because they play the Rams. The Rams who have been just a stifling defense against opposing running games. That being said, Tucker balled out. If you spot started him, and breaking news, I spot started him in 2 separate leagues yesterday.
Congratulations.
He got the big rewards, unfortunately against Stephania.
Oh, sorry about that, Stephania.
In this league.
The Focus League?
Yeah.
He's playing me in both the FF Now and the Focus League, and it's like it's not
War
bad.
Room in Focus, but yes.
Wow.
Okay, whatever. In War Room, I know.
Your FF Now League team is great. It's dominating.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the best team in the league by far.
But I'm getting destroyed by field in 2 different. It's not bad enough that he's crushed me in 1 league.
Yeah.
He's crushed me in 2, and with Travion Henderson in both. It's just mean. It's like
You have Travion Henderson in both leagues?
In both of those leagues, yes, with Sean Tucker in the Focus.
Wow.
I actually have, it's ironic. It's funny.
Travion
I actually have
next week.
I have Sean Tucker in War Room too.
Are you serious?
I didn't have the gumption.
Gumption. There we go.
Gumption to play him over Xavier Worthy. I regret it. But so we'll talk about this one more. He has my intrigue a little bit here. The matchup next week is not good, but if Bucky Irving is either out next week or gets banged up once again, I think we'll see more of Sean Tucker. This is the time of the year where once your team has had your kicker or your defense or your quarterback has had its bye, you can safely drop your backup there.
Yep.
So I think you have something to add on Sean Tucker as well, but just a name to keep on the radar going forward.
Absolutely. And you already mentioned some of this. I wanted to just say he had 9 more touches than Rachaad White, right? But you had mentioned, I was going to say, he had 9 more touches. I wonder how many more snaps he played. You already said it. He didn't. He played 46% of the snaps. Rachaad White played 59%. Yeah. So he did this in limited duty. I left this thinking, this isn't so much about Sean Tucker has now become an asset that I'm definitely going to use next week because of the Bucky Irving question mark. What it says to me more is if we don't have Bucky Irving next week, Sean Tucker has made Rachaad White no longer an RB2 in fantasy football.
He was being ranked as an RB1 a lot of those weeks without Bucky Irving. I would agree on that. He is a conversation, especially next week against the Rams. It's always easier to have a big day against a great run defense when you can also receive the ball, which Rachaad White certainly can do, but he has seen his value go down.
3 touchdowns for Sean Tucker, though.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
You love to see it.
How about another running back? Can I give you guys one that I was real proud of this week?
Hey, boy.
No Samaje Perine this week dealing with an ankle injury, which means we got a lot of Chase Brown in this game, and he delivered again for the 3rd straight game for fantasy managers.
Yeah, he's
season high, 24 touches. He is
slacking off.
Season high, 127 total yards plus 6 catches for that. A total of 18.7 fantasy points. Highest scoring Bengal of the week. Back-to-back weeks with at least 19 touches. 3rd straight week with 18 or more fantasy points. Yep. And since week 8, he's RB4 in fantasy points per game. It's going to be a much tougher test next week against the New England Patriots.
Sort of, yes. 2 things here. One, never wrong, just early sometimes.
That's right. Thank you.
Daniel Dopp on his Chase Brown love coming into the season. The Patriots are so good on offense that what if this game is 21-7 by the end of the first quarter? Would you be surprised?
No.
And that means lots of targets to Chase Brown.
Yep.
And again, I think Jamar Chase is going to be out for this game. So I like Chase Brown more than you would a typical running back against the Patriots.
I like both of the. I'm starting Travion Henderson in this matchup on the other side too because we'll see what happens with Ramondre Stevenson. Obviously,
sounds like Ramondre's got a real chance to be back this week, but
no, don't do that to us.
Well, it's hard to bench either.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube.
I agree with you.
So good.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to. I have running back. That's you guys.
Yes.
I have quarterback themes this week.
Okay, bring it.
And now my first takeaway, welcome back, Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
After a 6-game absence, comes back tied at quarterback 4 with Justin Fields. Yep. Let's see, 19 of 26 for 200 yards, 19.3 fantasy points. First of all, it's not even just the fantasy points. We talk about it yesterday on the show. We always do this when guys are coming back. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for a 49ers win, but I'm also looking for Brock Purdy to be moving, no limitations. Can he hand off? Can he pivot? Can he scramble when he needs to? What I wasn't expecting was out of the gate efficiency. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the first drive, it was like boom, boom, boom. Just right on point, right to George Kittle. That was the first touchdown. George Kittle was super happy to have Brock Purdy back as well.
2 tutties.
And the thing is that, he had a couple where he sailed it. He's allowed to be off target a little bit. But I think this is what you're going to get from Brock Purdy going forward. And refreshingly, for the 49ers, it was an example of giving the guy the right amount of time to recover and get to the point where he was fully healthy before bringing him back. I think sometimes teams need to look at this and say, that's what we need to do. Bringing somebody back early just to show they're tough or being out there for the guys doesn't help, especially when you had Mac Jones, who did such a nice job while Purdy was out. And then you get Purdy back, and he jumps right back into where he left off.
I think the takeaway that I had for that is I forgot that Justin Fields was quarterback 4 on the week.
It was a terrible week for quarterbacks.
I forgot.
Josh Allen saved what was a brutal week for quarterbacks. Think about some of our best quarterbacks in fantasy right now. Lamar, terrible. Awful. Right? Jalen Hurts, terrible. Awful. Drake May had 15.44 fantasy
That's bad
points.
for him.
Bad. It felt terrible coming out of Thursday night. Now it's like, it's
he's
okay.
a top 7 quarterback right now.
Ridiculous.
It's all relative.
Justin Fields is top 4, as you mentioned. Josh Allen kind of saved us. Mahomes, not good.
Mahomes was not good.
Bo Nix, who's had some good fantasy moments this weekend, played really well yesterday, but he did not find the end zone. So, anyways, a tough week for quarterbacks. We look ahead to Thursday night because there is a game somewhat 90 or so hours away from
Texans.
right now.
Yep.
The Texans may or may not have quarterback C.J. Stroud. Did he practice on Friday? I don't.
He
was obviously
pull my
out.
nose, but I don't think so. And so I am just getting the vibe that we're not likely to see him on Thursday.
And you know what that means? It means that Nico Collins should be very busy again on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Davis Mills, period, full stop. Trust Nico Collins. And I get it. It's hard to argue against throwing the ball to Nico Collins. But whether this is a Davis Mills thing, a schematic change from their offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, who's kind of steadied things a little bit for them of late, Nico Collins has been busy over the past 3 weeks. How about this? 7 for 75.
That's good.
7 for 136.
Even better.
And then yesterday, 9 for 92 and a touchdown. The Titans, not good. Totally understand that. But Nico has become the player that you probably drafted him in at worst the 3rd round to utilize this year in 3 straight games.
Texans
I do think it's a Davis Mills, Nico Collins thing, and I'll tell you why. I went to training camp back when it was going into Nico Collins' 2nd year, and I talked to Nico Collins, and nobody was really paying attention to him, and I was like, I think this guy's going to be something. And Davis Mills was coming off, I believe, his rookie season, and he was talking about the two of them working a lot together to try and help elevate each other's game and he really thought Davis Mills was going to take this step forward, and it was just this. I remember vividly this conversation about the two of them working so much together. And I think that stuff pays off. They understand timing and all of that. It's just a comfort level. And when you're a quarterback stepping in, you're not usually the starter. I think that's real. So I agree with you. I expect that to continue.
We'll see on Thursday night. Great game on Thursday night. The defense of the Texans against Josh Allen and that offense of the Bills. But nice to see Nico step up over the past 3
I'm only
weeks.
laughing because every time we think it's a great game.
Yeah,
It turns out to not be a great game. We thought Lions-Eagles was going to be a great game. Not a great game.
The Titans were looking for a way at the end of the game to see if Nico Collins could just stay in Nashville because they have no receivers left to find.
Oh, God, it's so bad there. Let's see. Where's my notes? Oh,
Calvin Ridley.
Yep, Calvin Ridley done for the season with a fibula fracture. Remember, fibula is that long bone on the outside of your leg that makes up part of your ankle. Don't know whether he fractured it down low at the ankle or got it twisted and fractured up higher. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter the amount of time it takes to recover. He's just not going to be able to come back.
That sucks.
And Chimere Deacon.
Yeah.
Chimere, yeah.
He left with a concussion, and we all know how that goes.
Yep.
No time predictability on that, but they lose 2 players.
That sucks.
Not great there. Not great. Daniel, what's your next takeaway?
My next takeaway is going to be another Texans takeaway because if you watched this game, you probably didn't feel good about it because the Texans barely won. Now, Nico totally came through for you if you needed him, like you mentioned, 9 for 92 and a touchdown. Like, that's great. If you started Woody Marks thinking, oh, man, it's the Titans. I got a guy that's going to be able to ball this week. He didn't.
He did not, yeah.
Now, I honestly feel like he couldn't have been in a better situation when you look at all the things that we laid out in front of you. 18 rush attempts, 44 yards, plus a catch for 6.1 fantasy points. But here's the thing. He played 66% of the snaps.
It's his time.
He got the run.
Yeah.
Next closest guy was Nick Chubb. Titans were terrible against the run. He had 19 touches, including 2 goal line touches, where he just couldn't find the end zone. The good news is, in spite of the dud that happened this week, like you had said, Field, it just feels like we have started to clearly see a gap now between Woody Marks and Nick Chubb.
It's the Woody Marks show, and at this point of the season, people care generally, which I understand why, more about the results and the process. Early in the season, if Woody Marks comes out of the gates and has like good snap percentage, sees the football a lot, comes close to scoring touchdowns, but doesn't fully deliver. It's like, all right, I got a chance for the rest of the year to have a player who might be a real fixture in my lineup.
Yep.
Woody Marks, though, now I do believe, especially going into Thursday Night Football against this terrible Bills run defense, is showing all the signs that if you drafted him and he has been hovering on your bench, you've got a chance to utilize him going forward. Nick Chubb was not on the injury report last week and did not have much of a role. Water is finding its level around the NFL, and the Texans offense that really needs capable, explosive players, Woody Marks is easily the only running back they should be trusting. That is now the case.
16 touches in week 10, 19 touches in week 11. Things are turning up Woody Marks. So, Stephania, what's your next?
You said 16 in week 10, 19 in week 11?
16 in week 10, 19 in week 11.
You said 11 in week 11, and I was like, no, you just said a minute ago he had 18 rushing attempts.
I didn't have any. No, we're good.
19,
yeah, 16 and 19.
Good number there. Yeah.
It's a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers.
Yeah.
I was told there'd be no math.
I know. Listen, I put on the smart glasses, still can't do math.
Sure you
but
can.
I can tell you that Jacoby Brissett is fantasy gold no matter whether they're winning or losing, no matter who they're facing. So right now, he had 21.88 fantasy points against the 49ers yesterday. In that, if you just looked at the score of the game, you might not recognize that Jacoby Brissett was going to be double-digit fantasy points, but he certainly was. His production since week 6 when he started, 20.7, 19.76, 24.84, 19.42, 21.88. He hasn't had a Lamar Jackson worthy performance yet. I mean, and by worthy, I mean like this week, 4.7.
No. I'll tell you what. He's bortled his way to fantasy relevance each of the last 2 weeks.
Totally.
Because it does not look good, but he continues to deliver. And one thing, I haven't heard anyone say this, but I don't know if you guys know this. He is the only quarterback over the last 5 weeks that is a top 12 quarterback in every single week. I'm not sure if you guys knew that.
He's most completed passes in the game yesterday.
I saw that too.
History. How crazy is
insane.
that? But you know what? And he's good. Like his passes, for the most part, pretty much on target. Like
82.5% of the completion percentage.
Yeah.
82.5% completion
that wasn't
percentage.
just like Trey
Brissett.
McBride making great catches. Or,
Also,
I mean, it was a lot of that.
82.5 on 20 attempts is a lot different than 57
correct.
attempts.
Yeah.
I did want to say on Trey McBride, do either of you guys have him as a takeaway?
I don't.
Okay.
He's just sick, though.
Trey McBride is the player that I think we talked ourselves into maybe Brock Bowers. Not that we were way ahead.
It was one of
from
them.
Brock Bowers to Trey McBride coming in this season. It was like, hey, these two guys are nip tuck for tight end 1. And the idea was you're drafting that player to be a huge weekly advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Trey McBride was worthy of it. It's not even close for Brock Bowers because of the injury. Now, he could get there, and Brock could absolutely mash the rest of the way, including tonight. But Trey McBride, man, what an absolute animal. And by the way, he scores touchdowns now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. He does. That's been unlocked. One other thing to mention in this game, DiMarcado with the ankle injury.
That's not how you say his name, Stephania.
Mary DiMarcado.
There we go.
there.
All right. I like it.
That was like straight off of like the Amalfi Coast right there. Nice.
He has an ankle injury where I always want to stop laughing.
I know. Before we talk about the injury. No, that makes sense.
Pause. Ankle injury for him. And so stay tuned because we'll see how the running back duties shuffle in Arizona. We don't know what Trey Benson's still not practicing, blah, blah, blah. We got a lot to watch there.
Yes,
we went into yesterday hoping that maybe a good matchup against the Bears defense would be enough to get J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings offense on track.
Bro.
Turned out we were wrong. If you're hoping for a better version of JJ, you did not get it.
No.
Did you know that Justin Jefferson had 11.1 fantasy points yesterday? Would you consider that a good day for Justin?
I would not.
You would not. And yet that was the most fantasy points for any Viking skill player. This offense, guys, is just not good. JJ, and maybe he gets there. And I hope he gets there. You don't want to see kids not meet expectations. My God, he is just peppering the ball all over the yard except for into his receiver's hands.
Really bad.
And he is just missing so many throws right now. The offense has zero rhythm as a result of it. If he was only playing against the Bears and only in the fourth quarter, J.J. McCarthy would be awesome. This might be like Kirk Cousins against the Buccaneers last year, right? But besides that, he has just been a total mess, and I don't think anything less of Justin Jefferson. It should go without saying that I still believe Justin Jefferson is one of the probably 10 most talented players alive. But he's become the biggest disappointment in fantasy football. And it's not his fault, right? But we did this redraft based off of guys taken in the first 10 picks last week.
Yep.
even, I get it, excluding injury, it's not close. He's the biggest disappointment, 11.1 fantasy points. I just, even in a good matchup, how do you feel like Justin Jefferson deserves to be ranked top 5 wide receiver?
I don't even think it's particularly close that he's the biggest bust, because what are the other busts in the first round? We're throwing Malik Neighbors out, right? That injury doesn't count.
Lamb if the injury, and then
throwing that
Ashton Genty,
Ashton Genty and Saquon Barkley have underperformed. But you know what?
Yeah.
At the running back position, Saquon Barkley and Ashton Genty have still found their level because it's the running back spot. At wide receiver, I gave up being able to draft a running back to get a guy that I think was going to be so much better than everyone else. Right. Yes, and so I gave up that.
Anyways, yeah, so tough day for everybody at the office. Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones.
You never see Justin Jefferson throwing his helmet and doing that.
Doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen
right?
very often. The frustrating, it's the boiling over.
Can I say this to your point?
Yeah.
And this isn't a fantasy stat, but just in watching the football game, last 4 weeks for J.J. McCarthy, 52% completion percentage, 56% completion percentage, 47% completion percentage, 50% completion percentage. That's awful. When you're completing under 55%, under 50% in 2 of your last 3 games.
You know what that is, right?
Tell me.
Anthony Richardson.
That's...
I mean, just based off the completion percentage, is what it is.
You're right. That is what it is.
This is not the headline from the day. Kind of, it was a quiet day from the Bears on offense in general.
Can I mention it, or do you want to dive into it?
I just want to say my line is quick. Catch the ball,
the
Bears.
Freaking ball.
Catch the ball.
Chicago wins in real life, but loses in fantasy because everybody sucked in this game as well. I mean, on the Vikings and the Bears side,
yeah, pretty much.
Caleb Williams was not accurate. Also, only completed 50% of his passes.
I thought that was it felt like once again a bunch of drops yesterday.
It was not great.
It was his day, yeah.
193 yards, 26 rushing yards, 10.3 fantasy points. Caleb Williams now has 7 games with 0 or 1 passing touchdowns and still has not topped 300 passing yards even once this season.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, 21 touches, but only 90 rushing yards, no passing game work. So he finishes with 9 fantasy points. Colston Loveland, 7 fantasy points. Rome Odunze, 2 for 41. DJ Moore, 1 for 18, which means over the last 2 weeks, DJ Moore has now scored 3.1 fantasy points over 2 weeks combined.
He's really struggled of late.
It has not been good. This whole Vikings-Bears game was just like, shut it off, don't watch it, and hopefully you get something. But we didn't really get any good performances out of either team here.
Yeah,
throw it away.
The only thing, here's what I want to say on Caleb is that I think up to this point, and maybe through next weekend, because they play the Steelers, it's kind of like you just sort of ride the Caleb wave because the last 2 weeks were remarkable, right? He was one of the highest scoring quarterbacks in all of fantasy football. Check out the Bears schedule down the stretch because that might make you I think now is the time, if you have Caleb, if you can, if there's somebody reasonable behind or on waivers, just grab a backup quarterback that you might have some modicum of confidence in. If it's Jacoby Brissett, I would love that, right? Yep. Because after they play the Steelers, Daniel, you have the schedule right in front of you. Give us the matchups.
They are at Philly in week 13, at Green Bay in week 14, Cleveland at home in week 15.
Like that.
At Green Bay at home in week 16, and then at San Francisco in week 17.
Okay, so championship weekend sounds
finally, if you can get there.
So just, I would say that now is the time, if you haven't already added a second quarterback and you've been riding the Caleb roller coaster, now is the time to do so. I think Caleb is much improved, and there's
go ahead.
He can be great in a given week, but I would definitely have a backup, an insurance plan there.
I was just going to say, you know where you can go to get those backup quarterbacks. You already alluded to one, is the NFC West. I think the NFC West, this was one of my takeaways from this weekend, just what that division, which I think maybe I'm biased in the way that I acknowledge the 49ers love, but I think that I pay attention to the NFC West perhaps a little bit more. You know how the West Coast feels like it never gets looked at, but I honestly think that division has so many high-octane offensive players that you have a lot to choose from at every position to help you, especially if you're trying to make a playoff push. That was going to be my thing. If you have somebody who were struggling, go look at these offenses. You could start with the quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, if he's still available now, but he certainly would have been a backup quarterback. He was a backup quarterback for a number of people. Brock Purdy, who I think can serve you well over the next few weeks. Look at their schedules. They still put up numbers, I think, despite whatever matchup they have. And the offenses have by and large, been very, very strong consistently across the entire division. Look at Seattle. You've got a number of, key players. But Sam Darnold, they didn't have a great day yesterday, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, obviously, we've talked about. And they've got the running backs are the only ones I would really avoid in that conversation.
Darnold and Brissett both available out on waivers right now. Purdy and Stafford both rostered in over 65% of leagues. So I think it'll be tough to find those two. However, Sam Darnold gets the Tennessee Titans this week, so maybe a decent matchup if you need someone like you're mentioning, Stephania.
Yep.
Yeah. Plethora of wide receivers, tight ends are that. I mean, depending when your trade deadline is too, it's coming up for a lot of people. You only have a week or so to make moves. If you're looking to get into the fantasy playoffs and you have riches at one position, you're trying to bolster another position, you could do worse than looking in the NFC West.
Can I ask you about that, Stephania? Because I got a wide receiver that has been dominating that I'm hoping to carry into the playoffs. Drake London, 7 catches, 119 yards, 18.9 fantasy points. He now has at least 18.9 in 5 of his last 6 games.
But
he has at least 100 receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 games, but he got hurt in overtime, Stephania, with a knee injury. How serious is this? Also, his quarterback got banged up here as well. Yeah,
they both did. And actually, they may be kind of similar injuries in the sense that they both hurt their knees. We'll start with Drake London. The team sounding like they don't think it's overly serious. He has an MRI scheduled for today. Was ruled out pretty quickly, did not return for the overtime. Here's the thing I would say about this. Whenever you have guys who fall on their knee, think about the potential for either bone bruise in there or some kind of subtle instability. Why does that matter? Players who didn't think anything was bad, thought they could have come back in the game and then turned out to be a problem. Brock Bowers, PCL sprain, ended up being multiple weeks. Who else were we just talking about? Ricky Pearsall, thank you. Similar type of injury. So these falling directly on the knee can be a lot of things, and I don't want to say it is that, but I have it. The early report of it didn't feel bad, and we will see. Take it with a grain of salt. Like get insurance, plan, because that can be a worry. And then Michael Penix, they said Raheem Morris said he could have come back. They thought, but things didn't look good. I'm not sure exactly what that means. This is the same knee that had a bone bruise previously that caused him to miss a game. So we shall see what is the case with Michael Penix. But yeah, both of them, further workup, further news coming.
That Drake London one is gigantic, obviously. Yesterday in the morning, we had just a disaster of a game over in Madrid, but shout out to Madrid, great city. Chris Rodriguez took over as the Commanders' lead back quietly yesterday. Now, they go into a bye. So I'm not sure that this is a guy that needs to be added on rosters. But again, if you have your quarterback, tight end, defense already past their bye, kicker past their bye, and you have some roster flexibility, a name to stash is Chris Rodriguez. He played 45% of the snaps. He basically took over the Bill Krosky-Merritt role. He also caught a pass for the first time all season, so the same limitations apply for him as did Bill Krosky-Merritt. But super desperate, keeping an eye on that Week 14 bye when there are 4 teams unavailable. Chris Rodriguez, a name to know.
So I was actually, one of my takeaways was there's no Washington running back you can trust when you're trying to get into the playoffs. And part of the reason is next week they have a bye, so you don't have them. Then they face the Broncos, and then they face the Vikings. So I want no part of the Washington running back squad if I can help it.
If you can help it.
Consideration.
Can I do one more really quick? I only have one more takeaway before we move into some of the rest of the injuries. How many do you guys have left? Can I just ask? You got one?
I got 2, but we can just rip through them.
All right, let's do it. Yeah. Sam Laporta has officially gone on IR. We have talked about that. I want to talk about how Jameson Williams has continued to look. And now is there a chance that we're going to get even more Jameson without Sam Laporta?
Is that the Dan Campbell switch, do you think? Because it felt like that's what unlocked it.
Last 2 weeks, it felt like he wanted to be able to get him involved. This week was a tough one to watch because Jared Goff was just so bad. I wasn't totally sure what the offense was always trying to do with everything. The offensive line played terrible. Shout out to the Eagles because the defense played unbelievable. Awesome. Yeah, they were really great.
Best defense in the NFC right now.
Jameson Williams, I'm going to start in week 6. 6 for 66 and a touchdown, 18.6 fantasy points. Week 7, he did not have any stats, unfortunately. That was a goose egg. Week 9, 4 for 66 and a touchdown, another 16.6 fantasy points. Week 10, 6 for 119 and a touchdown, 23.9 fantasy points. And this last week, 4 for 88 and another touchdown for 19.7 fantasy points. He has at least 16.5 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. There is no Sam Laporta for at least another 3 games. And their next 3 games are at home against the Giants, the Packers, and the Cowboys.
Great opportunity for them, especially those games being played indoors. They're a different team outside.
They
That
are.
much is clear. RJ Harvey was the lead back as expected for the Broncos yesterday.
Dude.
Quiet day in the hole, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs defense is legit. This is a tough debut for RJ Harvey's first starts, but he had 50 total yards, 30 rushing yards, 20 receiving yards. So he ends up with 8 fantasy points. Jaleel McLaughlin actually scored the touchdown, the lone Broncos touchdown.
It was a goal line touchdown too, wasn't it?
4-yard touchdown run for Jaleel McLaughlin. So if you had any
Kick the
questions,
big guy out.
It's like he's like 5'6". Yeah, it's like
so RJ Harvey, lead back, going to play the most snaps, going to see the most opportunities.
yes,
Clearly.
yeah.
Jaleel McLaughlin, going to be the next man in. Tyler Bidet, 0, nada, no value whatsoever. So if you added Tyler Bidet, is maybe he can be, sort of like that Jeremy McNichols, play 35, 40% of the snaps, maybe see 5 targets in a game. Not going to happen. It is the RJ Harvey show. I expect better things coming out of their bye.
Yeah.
They have a bye next week when they play, as Stephania just noted, the Commanders.
Yeah, my final takeaway, and you already referenced it actually, was have Bryce Young and Ted McMillan finally found their mojo. And if they have, they face the 49ers next week, and we know points can be scored against them. So, and with no pass rush really existing in the 49ers, I think it gives Bryce Young a good opportunity. We saw what Arizona did. Even if the Niners end up winning the game because their offense is more potent, I do believe that combination, coming off that win, I think it's a nice look ahead for them into next week.
Can I just really, and this is for very fast, I want to give you guys Bryce Young's game log over the last month just for passing yards. 138 passing yards, 102 passing yards, 124 passing yards, 448 passing yards.
So this is funny. So I played my wife in a fantasy matchup. The only time we'll play each other all season. And during the week, I'm looking at her roster and I'm like, geez, why are you still starting Bryce Young? I was like, Chapin, you have to stop starting Bryce Young. She was like, why? Is he bad? I'm like, yes, he's bad. And so I was like, pick somebody else up and play that player instead. And I forget who, it might have been Jacoby Brissett that she picked up. So it was fine, right?
Okay.
But it wasn't like she replaced him for, whatever.
Lamar Jackson.
Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So she dropped Bryce Young due to my advice.
Oh my gosh.
Now, she still beat me by like 50. She had an absolutely monster week. So
No, listen.
Well done.
Let's do this right here. Chapin, if you ever need fantasy advice from the rest of the season, just come to your guy Daniel, all right? I got you, girl. I'm going to take you. I'm going to take care of you. I got you.
Last takeaway from me is that Travis Kelce turned back the clock. That was awesome. 9 for 91 of the touchdown.
Broke a record.
Yes, most touchdowns by a Chiefs player in franchise history. He's like, listen, he's still just like a top 5 tight end, right? He's still
tight end doesn't feel great. He keeps getting production.
He's still a guy that you should be playing every single week. But
shout out to Priest Holmes, by the way, whose record he broke. I used to love to watch him play, and it was very cool. Supportive of the record breaking, and you love to see it.
Xavier Worthy duds again. Xavier Worthy has 11.1 or fewer fantasy points in 6 straight games.
Brutal.
Guess his best finish at wide receiver in that stretch. Just guess it.
Wide receiver 26.
Okay. Stefan, you want to wager a guess? That was pretty good by Daniel.
Wide receiver 26?
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah, you can't say it.
I was
She was just
asking. Did you hear
confirmation.
the
Oh, okay.
inflection?
Sorry. I thought you were listening.
Confirmation.
My bad.
Because it might surprise you. I'm doing 2 things at
Oh,
once.
got it. I
So
understand that.
I'm going to go with wide receiver 30.
Okay, Stefania wins. Wide receiver 29 is the answer.
Sorry, birthday boy.
I'm not sure what to tell you on this player. For a guy who was a first-round pick a year ago, for a guy who finished really strong last season, for a guy who is the fastest wide receiver in the history of the NFL Combine, the fastest player in the history of the NFL Combine. There is 0 big play upside for him so far this season. He has not yet had a catch of 40 or more yards. He has, I believe, 1 touchdown all year. No 2 ways about it. He's been one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy as well. The injury is not his fault, but when you factor in the fact that you missed him for the first month of the season, he's been bad the rest of the way. I have a weird feeling on him this upcoming weekend against the Colts because it's a potential track meet game with Indy's poor pass defense, and maybe Sauce Gardner shadows somebody else. But it's been bad.
I'm going to say this. Tyquan Thornton is not someone that you can start in fantasy football. However, the idea that we wanted Xavier Worthy to be the deep threat in this offense, and now instead of him, it's like every once in a while, Tyquan Thornton will catch a 80-yard catch. Like, those should be Xavier Worthy balls.
Yeah, Worthy had opportunities yesterday, and it felt like him and Mahomes are just a tick off. And that may be more about the quarterback than it is the wide receiver on those downfield shots, but they seem a lot more effective when being thrown to Tyquan Thornton. A couple of notable injuries to get into. Let's do that.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. We didn't mention much about the Packers, but this is a big one because obviously Josh Jacobs, rostered by so many in fantasy, landed on his knee. Another landing on the knee. Everything I just said about the concerns with the Drake London injury are my concerns with the Josh Jacobs one. He couldn't return to the game. We shall see what happens. Dylan Gabriel, who we mentioned, had a concussion and left the game. You may have seen that Shedeur Sanders replaced him. We know better than to put a timeline on concussion injuries, but just know that Dylan Gabriel, you're probably expecting that he will not be there. We'll see what Cleveland does. I have no idea what to even say about anything.
Do you have a takeaway with Shedeur under center?
I mean, it was no better than it was with Dylan Gabriel.
What it felt like.
So if you don't like starting those players, I just would avoid Browns pass catchers as much as you can.
Agreed.
By the way, big time regression from Quinshon Judkins of late. Kevin Stefanski has said, by the way, that if Dylan Gabriel clears concussion protocol, he will start next week against the Raiders. Josh Jacobs is just massive because there was we don't have all-pro teams in fantasy football, but he was Mr. Consistency. He would have been an all-pro player for fantasy, or he will be one if he gets back on the field this upcoming week if this knee injury is not that serious. But I have my radar up on all of these. It doesn't seem that bad on Sunday.
Because that's what you learn your lesson from earlier this year. Speaking of another running back who got banged up yesterday, Bashal Tutin for the Jaguars. He did walk off the field, but he was having his best game of the season before the injury. 15 carries. Might be just all ETN going forward, depending on what happens with Bashal Tutin. Tyler Higbee, just for your records, Tyler Higbee also got hurt. I think it was an ankle injury. We shall see what happens with him.
All right, let's dive into a couple of studs and duds real fast.
We covered most of them, just a couple that we haven't given the love to.
Yeah, CMC, in case you guys didn't know, is really good at football again. 13 carries, 81 yards, plus 2 rushing touchdowns, and another 5 for 40 through the air, and another receiving touchdown for 35.1 fantasy points. 3 touchdown days. CMC just keeps doing CMC things.
I don't really have anybody to add that I think qualifies as like weekly starter that you should be starting, but you should. Adam Schefter just reported moments ago on Twitter that Michael Penix Jr.'s knee injury is not encouraging and it could be season ending.
It's really it's sad for anyone, but if you know Michael Penix Jr.'s history with all the injuries that he overcame to get drafted, and that was one of the knocks on him. It's why part of the reason he went a little bit later. There were questions about his knee. I remember being at Senior Bowl, and there was that was all the conversation was how healthy with his knees. He had multiple ACL surgeries and shoulder injuries.
4 season-ending injuries in 6 years of college.
Yeah.
4.
And that's why him putting together his final season where he was healthy the whole year was such a big deal for him in advance of the draft. And so you hate to see it. And we'll see what the news is before getting too deep in the weeds on it. But
instant reaction.
Bad. I mean,
5 of the last 6 games, like I said, he's had over 100 receiving yards with Michael Penix. Does Kirk Cousins move the needle like that?
Listen, Drake London, 5% discount maybe.
Okay.
Guy's too good. And
we're going to hope he peppers him the way he should.
On Drake London. But yeah, that Falcons team, who, by the way, owes their first round pick to the Rams. Not good news right there. From the studs category, really nobody else that is.
I have one other, just because I want to say his name, Tyrell Shavers.
Yeah.
Only because to me it sort of complements the Josh Allen feat, which was you didn't know who he was throwing the ball to. How many of, you don't count, you don't get to count because you know everything about every player, where they went to school and all that. But Tyrell Shavers isn't a name that I had on my bingo card to get called yesterday for fantasy purposes.
Me either. Where did he go to school?
I actually don't know, but the big reason why this, it's a very small school, I'm guessing. I just know Tyrell Shavers has been known to many as the guy that, because of his uniform and the arm sleeves he wears, looks like Stephon Diggs, just not Stephon Diggs.
Okay. Oh, boy.
He didn't go to Pitt, did he?
No, in fact, there's a lot of colleges he went to. You have many choices to choose from. He played college football for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Mississippi State Bulldogs, and San Diego State Aztecs.
Yep, there you go.
But anyway, I just, it's fun to see sometimes when these names that we don't get to call out much have a good game. I don't know that there's any use for him going forward.
Okay.
Unless it's desperate.
Agreed. On the dud side, was there anyone that really crushed you? I mean, for me, Amon-Ra St. Brown was terrible. Like it was.
Yeah, 6.2 for Amon-Ra. That was terrible. I mentioned Tua facing the Commanders.
Oh, yes.
6.84 fantasy points.
I trusted you for that with my start of the week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You talked me into it.
I was trying to be strategic with that.
Between me and Chapin, I feel like you're not doing very well this week, Field.
Yeah, I saved all my good juju for my matchups against
Stephania. You know, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Got to take the queen down.
Devontae Smith, 1 for 8. 1 catch for 8 yards.
Yeah, that was
what
bad.
the heck, man? That was terrible.
Was that solely because they were like, we're only throwing the ball to A.J. Brown?
No, I just think this offense is not that good, and Devontae Smith every week could be vulnerable. He could go off for 30. He could go off for 2. That's every player on this offense.
Seriously.
Literally every one of them.
Here's a dud for you. Quentin Johnston, 0.0.
Yeah. I know. That's brutal.
It doesn't get worse than that.
Sucks.
I figured, might as well hit the bottom.
Yep.
I just want to take a quick moment to shout out, even though he was a dud, Devontae Adams, who now has, over his last 4 games, 7 receiving touchdowns. Let me tell you that those 7 receiving touchdowns have gone for a total of 14 yards.
Yes.
14 yards.
He is
He's the best goal line
Jimmy Graham.
player in the NFL.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He's
Jimmy Graham.
in his senior. It's like his era of being that player, because we know what Devontae Adams was.
We should
in Green
make him
Bay.
a shirt that says "In my Jimmy Graham era."
Jimmy Graham
That would
era.
be so good.
He is, because he's like in that. Like if he's in the red zone, he's money.
Yeah.
But you're not getting anything else out of him. You know,
One
Puka
catch,
Nacua
1
can do all
yard,
the hard stuff down the field. And then Devontae Adams will be there to get the score. I love it. It
was great.
It works for the Rams.
Candidly, Puka disappointed yesterday. 7 for 72 for Puka Nacua.
You know, isn't that a disappointing game for Puka? 7 for 72.
Great he is. Devontae, 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. As we move on to our Monday Night Football preview.
Let's dive in. Cowboys at the Raiders. Hoping for a lot of, we had a Fantasy Football Now question, hoping for a lot of offense here. Do you believe, what did you answer on this one, that both CeeDee Lamb and Brock Bowers will get to 80 receiving yards? You said yes?
Over.
What was it?
CeeDee
I forgot
and
the
Brock
question.
Bowers, 80 or more receiving yards, both.
A piece.
I said
meaning, not like
no.
Combined.
I don't think both of them get there.
I think I said yes, but I don't remember what happened this morning, much less that.
One of the big things that I'm watching this week is just to see, outside of Brock Bowers, who is going to step up for the Raiders pass catchers in Jacoby Myers' absence. Does someone materialize that maybe
Trey
we
Tucker.
can plant a flag on for the second half of the, our playoff push?
Yeah, I've sort of resigned myself to this, is that in the running game, it's going to be Ashton Genty. It does set up for a nice day, even with this new look Cowboys defense. But to me, can we just get the ball enough to Brock Bowers? Like, we can worry about other guys besides Brock Bowers, but could we take care of Brock Bowers too? 1 catch for 31 yards when they played the Broncos last Thursday night. We certainly need a whole lot more of that to Brock Bowers. So that's what I have my eyes on. I have this weird thing where, like, a couple matchups where I still have players outstanding that have been decided. But then I need, like, if I got generational nights, historic, once-in-a-lifetime nights for both Ashton Genty and CeeDee Lamb, I could come back in 2 separate matchups, and I would be very happy. I only need 33 non-PPR from CeeDee Lamb. So
33 non-PPR.
150 and 3 touchdowns, CD, no problem, right?
Well,
That seems
it
possible,
probably
right?
it could have.
Sounds like a Drake London
we
game.
would laugh.
It
but
does.
My look ahead to this game was the Brock Bowers thing as well. Like, can you erase the bitter memory of the last outing, which was 3.7. 3.7. It's hard to say out loud. 3.7 fantasy points.
terrible.
The week before that, do you remember how many he scored?
40-something?
49.3.
Yeah.
So it was like the 2 extremes. So Brock, let's get a little bit more towards that 49.3. But look at this nice matchup here for him. And that first game back was the first game back after his injury that he put up the 49. So we know he's healthy. We know he's in great shape. Mm-hmm. This could be a really good get-back game for him as well.
Who are you taking in this game, Raiders or Cowboys?
Taking the Cowboys. It's going to be an emotional night, obviously, the first game for Dallas since the tragic loss of Marshawn Nealon, their defensive end. So thinking about his family, his girlfriend who's expecting their child together, and just awful news, but hopefully football provides just a tiny bit of solace for not just the Cowboys teammates, but the family of Marshawn Nealon tonight.
Yeah.
Got the Cowboys.
Well
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Cowboys as well. Raiders just don't really inspire a lot of confidence. Hopefully Gino can just start playing better and finding his guys, because that's a big part of it as well.
Bad.
Cowboys or Raiders?
Yeah, Cowboys.
Cowboys. All right. Anything else you guys want to drop off before we come back on a Tuesday?
Just wish everybody get on the socials and wish Daniel Dopp a happy birthday.
Stephania, thank
We love you, dude.
Send love to
Appreciate
our boy.
that. And I want to give a little bit of love to our buddy Eric Moody, who hung out in chat, YouTube chat the entire day. Follow him on social media at Eric and Moody. And that's going to do it for Monday Night Football.
I want to know what Moody's listening to today. I think we should have a required that he checks in and gives us like what the mood of the music is.
Probably a little Zeppelin, if I had to guess. Maybe a little Jethro Tull, if I know Eric Moody. I don't know. Him and I, we have some music things that we definitely do some fun stuff with. So that's going to do it for us today, though. Have fun watching Monday Night Football. Good luck with all the Monday Night miracles you need. And don't forget to love each other. Be kind to yourself. You deserve it. Today's show was presented by Wingstop. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Happy birthday, Daniel.
Happy birthday. 06010.